What up players, it's Warboss Tay up in this mug. Welcome to the second part of my tutorial on how to paint a Khorne Blood Warrior. This time we're painting up to this high tabletop standard, and I'm so glad you're here with me. If you just want to have me playing in the background while you work on whatever you're working on, that is great too. A tutorial is a real-time experience where you're going to see me bringing up this model from the end of the last video to which was a regular tabletop standard to this high tabletop standard. The colors you're going to be using are in no particular order: Gorthor Brown, Fire Dragon Bright, Dawnstone, Leadbelcher, Stormhost Silver, Liberator Gold, Nihilak Oxide, Mephiston Red, Eshin Gray, Abaddon Black, and that's it. The other colors you're going to be using are just to fix and go backwards to tidy up any mistakes that were made. So the color that I went back to using was Agrax Earthshade. These guys are deceptively simple to paint and should not take you too long to get through a unit of 10 of them. You can also replicate the color scheme for any other Khorne model in your army. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and if you'd like to follow more of my work, I hope you click the like button, leave me a comment, and subscribe down below. For those of you who've watched my videos in the past and have been away for some time, welcome back. Welcome back to myself, to filming tutorials again, and I'm so glad you could join us. I hope you have a great time watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one. So we gave our Blood Warrior a little bit of time to dry, and now we're going to get started on the highlights. Our first color we're going to use is Liberator Gold. Liberator Gold is a really nice burnished gold color that I think looks really great as a highlight color for your gold if you wanted to stand out against a red armor color scheme. So you want to be careful not to get the gold color onto your red, but if you do, it's no problem. It's not the end of the world. It's actually better, I found, to do this highlight first and make the mistake getting some of this gold color onto the red, because you could fix it later when we're highlighting the red, rather than working the other way around. I think there's less backtracking. Say we painted the highlight for the red armor first, and then we went to the gold. If we painted any of this gold color onto our highlighted red armor, we'd have to go back and fix it. Because the gold armor the gold trim is a layer raised up higher than the red armor, it's more difficult to get red paint onto the gold areas than it is to get gold onto the red. Now I'm looking at where is the most prominent places for the gold trim to be picked up by the light. I'm not going to paint the entire area of trim. You can if you want to do that though. I'm going to look at where the light is most likely going to pick up these highlights. the helmet done. I remember when they first released the starter set for Age of Sigmar. They didn't have any Blood Warriors in it. They had the Blood Reavers. And I was trying to look for comparisons. You know, I shouldn't have done this, but I was looking for comparisons between these Khorne models and the old Chaos Warriors, and I couldn't find a comparable figure. You know, there's no like Chaos Warrior. This is the closest you get to a Chaos Warrior, and they released these later. Fully armored Chaos guys waving their weapons, running down the field. The Reavers were less armored. I guess they reminded me of Marauders, but that was my mistake for trying to draw comparisons between the old world and this. Alright, that's that done. Now we're going for Mephiston Red. And this is the same kind of principle. You want to be painting the larger flat areas, but try to avoid, if you can, the recesses. You just take your brush and you start from the center of these larger areas and fan out the color. Start from the top and draw the color down. Start from the center, draw the color out. And if you feel like in this stage you're making a mistake, and you painted too far towards the recesses, or you think it's just a little too bright, I want to take it a step back, all you have to do is repaint the area with Agrax Earthshade. As a wash color, it'll easily seep into any corners or recesses that you feel you got a little too much paint in, like right there. So I'll show you what I mean in a second when I go to fix that. And sometimes, if you're trying to paint a lot of these guys to a high standard, you could just do that wash, that Agrax Earthshade wash anyways, and then on this step, really just go to town. Not be too precise or careful about where all that red paint is going. And just use that Agrax Earthshade to clean up your mess. You might run into some nicks, some gouges in the armor. If you do, you want to try not to paint into them with the Mephiston red. We want to leave those open. And then what we're going to do is highlight the bottom edge in the next step. So I'm going to try not to color into this battle damage if I can. And again, because it's sculpted onto the armor, if you do get some of this Mephiston red paint into the battle damage like there, then you just go back over it with Agrax Earthshade. Look, and oops, I got some paint onto the axes there. Trickiest part is the helmet. And all the helmets are sculpted differently. So you're going to need to really use your judgment on where those highlights are going to go. But I like to find, or I've found that I like to paint the eyebrows. Those are usually raised. The brow, the head, top of the forehead rather. And those usually are good enough highlights for me. Okay, so once everything is painted, I'm going to give it a second to dry, then I'm going to go back. Whew, man, look at that. I'm going to go back and hit it with the Agrax Earthshade. Man, I really might have messed with that blade. Igor, why didn't you tell me that I messed up my blade like that?
I thought you were going for that effect, Master. I thought it was blood.
No, I can't blame you there. Yeah, see, look, I made a little bit of a misstep in the torso piece there. It looks like pretty uneven. So I'm just going to take my Agrax Earthshade and fix it up. Just right on the side. Oh, look, it's making a little heart. Then right into the areas that I got some paint in. Then where else did I mess up? A little bit here. So you can see I'm just relining the areas that got some Mephiston red where I didn't want them to go. And easy peasy. Just like that. I'm gonna let that all dry for a second. We're gonna hit the areas that might have gotten some red paint on them. I'm just gonna fix up the boots with Abaddon Black. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to paint up highlight up the silver trim, and for that we're going to use Storm Host Silver. So let's take a look at our model and see where the light is coming, where the light is shining down from, and that's the edges that we're going to try to pick out the most. That's a mess. I'm going to have to just go over that with Lead Belcher one more time. But you can see when you shine the light onto your axe where that light is picking up the most. kind of going with more of a dry brush rather than a fine edge highlight. I think for these weapons, that's okay. There we go. And then once all that is painted on, you should still have enough left on your brush. If you have too much, you can get a little bit more. If you have, or I'm sorry, if you have too much of that Stormhost silver, you can wipe some of that off onto your napkin or your wet palette. And then what you're going to do is take it and you're going to just dry brush down these chainmail bits. So we're trying to just catch the raised edges with the little bit of Stormhost silver that's on the edge and the tip of the bristles. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use Stormhost silver to paint some highlights on the gold. So the same principle, we're going to look at where the light is catching the gold the most, and we're just going to lightly brush on that Stormhost silver. You're usually going to be picking up the edges of the armor or the raised areas like the skull. Just on the edge. You don't want to do too much because we're also going to add that verdigris effect in a second. Sorry, Igor, steady the camera.
Yes, master.
Okay. That looks pretty good. At this point, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, and we're going to add one more awesome effect, which is the Nihilakh Oxide. I want to get this one out of the way now, so our model really looks different from where we had him at the beginning of this video. Now, you want to be a little strategic with this point and look for the areas where that Nihilakh Oxide is really going to pick up. You don't want to just drench the whole model in it. So where I'm looking for are places like where the skull is molded onto the armor, like that. You're going to get a little bit of the eyebrows and a little bit of the teeth. Here I'm looking for the curve of the armor. Just going to dot one of these rivets. I'm going to get a little bit of the crest, but not too much. And yeah, you're just going for a little bit of an accent. Rather than a general application over the entire armor. Okay, and there. So that looks pretty good. It gives you a flash of blue, bluish green, and makes the model stand out really nicely. I'm going to now fix up my horrible mistake on the axe by painting up Leadbelcher. There you go. Leadbelcher is also a good color to throw on at any point if you are making a mistake on the silver bits. Right there. Okay, we are almost done. Now we're going to add the most fun part. Wipe away some of that wash there. The most fun part is Fire Dragon Bright. This we're going to use as a highlight, extreme highlight. So you're going to want to get as little bit as possible on the tip of your brush, but still be able to work with it. Then you're going to paint the edges of the red. So starting with the leg armor, you're going to go right down. And if you are not the steadiest painter, then have no fear, that is not to worry. If you make a messy line, that is actually a-okay. Like, look at how messy that left knee pad is. And for the flat armor plates, what you're going to do is trace the pattern of the trim on the inside. Same as with that crested helmet. The crested helmet, you're actually painting the entire thing. And then if you have those nicks in the armor, you're going to paint the underside. And again, we're tracing the inside of the armor. You might be thinking, but why did we bother highlighting the armor plate if we're just going over it with this orange paint? And the reason is because we're going to tighten up these lines with our Mephiston red. Okay. Take our Mephiston red. Let me show you what I mean. So you're gonna draw from where the color is of the Mephiston red is, and you're gonna paint towards the Fire Dragon Bright. So paint from the center. Just tighten up this line, work your way out towards the edge. And if you paint over it completely, that's okay. You have the option to go back or just leave it as a happy little accident. I just take it to mean that the highlight was not supposed to be there. The paint gods are taking it back. There, that looks real good. So you get these really sharp lines And it looks like you free-handed those sharp orange lines on when all you really did is slap them on and then paint within to create the pattern. With the crest, you're gonna just draw a line through the center and then work those orange lines from the center. Like that. Again, we're gonna work from the center of the armor plates. We're gonna work our way out. And if anything gets covered, then we just let it go. The most important lines that you want to get are here on the leg armor and the knee pads. These are what your are the most prevalent when somebody looks at your models. So you want those lines to be real sharp. There you go. That looks really good. The last thing we're going to be working on is highlighting the bands around his, or two things. We have two more things to work on. Highlighting the wrappings on the weapon and the arm. For that, we're going to use Gorthor Brown. So you're just going to try to pick up the edges of the banding there, his arm wraps. And the same with the wrappings around the handles of the weapons. If you want, you can do a second layer of Gorthor Brown, or even highlight up to a what's it called, Rakarth Flesh. But for now, I think that's going to be all we're going to go with, and we're going to move on to Eshin Gray. For the black areas, which is just the boots. Definitely time to get some more poster tack. So you can see I'm highlighting the top part of the cuff of the boot back here. I'm working on where the actual foot part is, and gotta get the heel. Doing some horizontal strokes usually catches the raised detail the way you want to. And it's okay if you're a little sloppy, because we're gonna hit the fine detail now with Dawnstone. So this is where you want to pick out the corners, or the most prominent of the raised edges. you get a little too much paint on, like looks like I did there with the toe, you can just go back with either Eshin Gray, or if you really want to tone it down, go right back to your Abaddon Black. But yeah, Eshin Gray highlighted up to Dawnstone is a real nice transition for the gray colors. And there you have it, players. The only thing left to do is paint the base, which I'm going to paint in Abaddon Black, and then I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you would like to support Warboss Taste Studios, you can always support us through Patreon. Check out our Discord. I'll leave the links down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Blood for the Blood God.
What up, players? Gandalf the Grey, up in Sigmar. Support Warboss Taste Studios. For now, more than ever, Hobbiton is in desperate need of heroes. Heroes like Daniel Sprinkle, Scrag Fist, Brad 94H, Pigs, Dicey Guy, Harris Smith, Play It Painted, and Logan Swanson.